Vex Prime stood on the bridge of his warship and looked at the reports. His 4 eyes moved quickly as he read each message. Every report said the same thing. Strange signals were coming from the inner galaxy, signals that matched no known language. The hegemony controlled the outer edge of the galaxy. They were not like the peaceful species in the Galactic Council. The hegemony took what they wanted by force. They enslaved weak species and destroyed anyone who fought back. "Commander," one of his officers said, "the signals are getting stronger. Our best computers cannot understand the language." Vex Prime crushed the report in his clawed hand. He had hoped this day would never come. Deep in the secret levels of his ship, he kept prisoners that no one else knew about. Prisoners that looked exactly like the creatures from the old legends. "Take me to the lower levels," he ordered. The elevator went down past the normal decks of the ship, past the weapon storage and the engine rooms. It stopped at a level that was not on any official map. Guards with heavy weapons stood outside thick metal doors. "Open cell 47, Vex Prime commanded. The cell was small and dark. An old creature sat on a simple bed. He looked weak and tired, but his eyes were still bright. His skin was pale pink and he had hair on his head like the stories described. This was Jin, and he was human. Jin looked up when the door opened. He had been a prisoner for 40 years. In all that time, he had never stopped hoping that his people would find him. "The signals have started," Vex Prime said. "Your people are trying to contact the galaxy." Jin smiled for the first time in months. "I told you this day would come. My message got through after all." Vex Prime hit Jin across the face. "Your message was sent 20 years ago. Even if it reached someone, they would be dead by now. Humans live short lives." "You do not understand us," Jin said quietly. "Humans do not give up, and we do not forget our own." Years ago, Jin had managed to send a message using an old human communication device. The device was hidden in the walls of the ship. Jin had found it when the hegemony first captured him. He spent months learning how to use it. The message was simple. "We are still here. Come home." Jin did not know if anyone would receive it. The human networks were supposed to be destroyed, but he had to try. His people were dying in cages across the galaxy. Someone had to know they were still alive. "Take me to see my daughter," Jin said. Vex Prime laughed. "Your daughter does not even know what she is. She thinks she is hegemony." In another cell, a young woman named Hay worked at a computer. She had been born in this ship and lived her whole life as a prisoner. But she did not know she was a prisoner. The hegemony told her she was a special worker. They said her strange appearance was just a rare genetic condition. Hay was smart and good with computers. The hegemony used her to solve problems that their own people could not figure out. She had no idea that her father was in a cell just a few levels away. "Hi," a guard called. "Vex Prime wants to see you." Hay followed the guard to the command center. She had been there many times before. Vex Prime often asked her to look at strange signals or decode old messages. "We are receiving signals from the inner galaxy," Vex Prime explained. "I need you to analyze them." Hay sat at the computer and began working. The signals were unlike anything she had ever seen. The pattern was complex but somehow familiar. As she worked, she felt something strange. The signals seemed to speak to something deep in her mind. "This is not a random signal," she said. "It is a language. A very old language. Can you translate it?" Hay worked for hours. Slowly, words began to appear on her screen. Simple words at first, then longer messages. Her hands began to shake as she read what the signals were saying. "Come home. We remember. We are coming." "What does it mean?" Vex Prime demanded. Hay looked up at him with tears in her eyes. I think these signals are from my people." Vex Prime realized he had made a mistake. Hay was too smart. She was beginning to understand what she really was. "Take her back to her room," he ordered the guards. "Do not let her near any computers," but it was too late. Hay had learned the truth. She was not alone in the universe. Somewhere out there, others like her were alive, and they were looking for her. That night, Hay lay on her bed and thought about the signals. She had memorized the language patterns. In her mind, she could hear the messages clearly. "We are coming, hold on. Do not give up hope." The next morning, the hegemony's scout ships began reporting strange readings at the edge of their space. Something large was moving in the darkness between galaxies. Their sensors could not get a clear picture, but whatever it was heading toward the galaxy. "How long until it reaches our space?" Vex Prime asked. "At current speed, maybe 3 months, his science officer replied. "But sir, the readings do not make sense. The object appears to be bigger than a moon." Vex Prime felt fear for the first time in his life. If the signals were calling to something that large, his people might be in serious trouble. He decided to visit Jin again. Maybe the old human would tell him more about what was coming. "Your people are returning," Vex Prime said when he entered Jin's cell. "How many of them are there?" Jin looked at his captor with calm eyes. "You kept some of us alive as prisoners. You thought we were valuable because we were rare, but you never asked the important question." "What question?" "If you only found a few hundred humans in the entire galaxy, where did all the others go?" Vex Prime felt cold. The humans that the hegemony had captured were mostly old or sick. They were the ones who could not escape when their people were forced to leave the galaxy. The strong ones, the smart ones, the warriors. Jin continued. They all left together. They went beyond the edge of known space, but they promised they would come back for us. That was 1,000 years ago. They would all be dead. Jin smiled. "You still do not understand. Humans are different from you. We do not just think about ourselves. We think about our children and their children. The ones who left trained their descendants to remember, to never forget the ones left behind." Outside the ship, the hegemony's long-range sensors detected something that made their operators call for help. A single ship had appeared at the very edge of their territory. It was watching them. The ship was unlike anything in their databases. It was sleek and dark, and it seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. When they tried to scan it, their sensors gave impossible readings. "Send a patrol to investigate," Vex Prime ordered. 3 hegemony warships moved toward the strange vessel, but when they got close, the unknown ship simply vanished. It did not jump to hyperspace or use any known propulsion system. It just disappeared. "Where did it go?" Vex Prime demanded. "We do not know, sir. One moment it was there, the next it was gone." But the ship had not really disappeared. It was still there, watching. Its technology was so advanced that the hegemony sensors could not detect it when it did not want to be seen. Inside the human scout ship, Captain Saul studied the readings his computers had gathered. The hegemony ship was full of life signs. Most were the expected alien species. But there were also readings that made his heart race. Human life signs. His people were alive inside that ship. Saul opened a communication channel to his fleet command. "This is Scout 7. I have confirmed human prisoners aboard hegemony vessel designation H4471. Request immediate backup." The reply came instantly. "Scout 7, maintain observation. Do not engage until the main fleet arrives. Admiral Hyun wants all prisoners recovered safely." Saul looked at the hegemony ship through his view screen. Somewhere inside that metal prison, his people were waiting. They had waited for 1,000 years. They could wait a little longer, but not much longer. The human fleet was coming, and when it arrived, the galaxy would learn that some promises are never broken. Jin sat in his cell and listened to the sounds of the ship around him. Something had changed. The guards were nervous. The officers were running back and forth. Even Vex Prime seemed worried. The signals from space were getting stronger every day, and now they carried a new message. "Soon, very soon. We are almost home." Quan brushed the dirt away from the strange metal object. His hands shook as he held it up to the light. After 3 years of digging on this dead planet, he had finally found something important. The research station Forgotten Echoes floated in space above the planet's surface. Quan had been working here with his partner Nara for months. They were looking for signs of old civilizations. Most scientists thought this planet was empty and boring, but Quan felt something different about this place. "What did you find this time?" Nara asked as she walked into the lab. She was tired of looking at rocks and broken pieces of metal. Nothing they found ever meant anything special. Quan held up the object. It was about the size of his hand and covered in strange markings. The metal was unlike anything he had seen before. It was silver but seemed to glow with its own light. "Look at these symbols," Quan said. His voice was excited. "I have seen them before, in the old books about humans." Nara rolled her eyes. "Not this again, Quan. Humans are just stories. Everyone knows that. They are like the monsters parents tell children about to make them behave." But Quan was not listening. He was already looking through his computer files. The symbols on the metal matched perfectly with drawings from ancient texts. These texts were thousands of years old. They talked about a race called humans who once traveled between the stars. The Galactic Council ruled over hundreds of different alien species. They had been in power for 3,000 years. In all that time, they said humans were just myths, stories made up by primitive species who did not know better. Quan had studied these stories for his whole life. Most scientists laughed at him. They said he was wasting his time on fairy tales. But Quan believed the stories were real. Too many different species told the same stories. They all described humans the same way. "I need to show this to the Archaeological Society," Quan said. He was already packing his things. "They will just laugh at you again," Nara warned. "Remember what happened last time?" Dr. Vorlak said you were embarrassing yourself. Quan did remember. But this was different. This was proof. 3 days later, Quan stood in front of the Galactic Archaeological Society. The Great Hall was full of the smartest scientists from across the galaxy. Different alien species sat in rows, all waiting to hear what he had found. "Members of the society," Quan began, "I believe I have found proof that humans were real." A low sound of laughter came from the audience. Dr. Vorlak, a large blue alien with 6 arms, stood up. "Young Quan," Dr. Vorlak said in a voice like thunder, "we have been patient with your hobby. But this is a serious place for serious science. Humans are myths. Children's stories. Nothing more." Quan held up the metal object. "Then explain this. The symbols match ancient human writing perfectly. The metal is made with technology we do not understand. It was buried deep underground in layers that are over 1,000 years old." The room became quiet. Several scientists leaned forward to get a better look, but Dr. Vorlak was not interested. "Anyone can fake old metal," he said. "The Council has studied this question for hundreds of years. There is no evidence that humans ever existed. This meeting is over." Most of the scientists left, but a few stayed behind. They wanted to see the object for themselves. One of them was an old alien named Tay. He had gray skin and wise eyes that seemed to see everything. Tay waited until everyone else was gone. Then he walked slowly to where Quan stood. "May I see it?" Tay asked quietly. Quan handed him the metal object. Tay held it carefully in his wrinkled hands. His eyes grew wide. "Where did you find this?" Tay whispered. "On the planet below our research station." "Why, do you recognize it?" Tay looked around to make sure no one was listening. "Come with me. There are things you need to know, things my people have kept secret for a very long time." They went to Tay's private office. The old alien locked the door and turned on a device that would stop anyone from listening to their conversation. "The Vorthan people are very old," Tay began. "We have been alive since before the Galactic Council existed. We remember things that others have forgotten, or things that others want everyone to forget." Tay walked to a wall and pressed his hand against it. A secret panel opened. Inside was a small room filled with objects and books. "We have been keeping these safe for generations," Tay said. "Our ancestors made a promise. If humans ever returned, we would give these back to them." Quan stared at the collection. There were dozens of objects made from the same strange metal. Books written in human language. Pictures of creatures that looked like the humans from the old stories. They were real, Quan whispered. "Very real," Tai confirmed. "And they were not weak creatures who disappeared by accident. They were driven away. The species that now make up the Galactic Council were afraid of them." "Afraid? Why?" Tai picked up one of the human books. "Humans were different from us. They could make friends with any species. They shared their knowledge freely. They were becoming too powerful, too loved by others. Some species feared that humans would take over the galaxy. So they were attacked. Worse, they were betrayed. Species they trusted worked together to force them to leave. The humans fought back at first, but they were outnumbered. In the end, they chose to leave rather than destroy everything in a war." Quan felt sick. "And then everyone pretended they never existed?" "The new Galactic Council made it illegal to talk about humans. They destroyed most of the evidence. They said it was for peace. But really they were afraid that humans might come back someday." Tay handed Quan one of the human devices. It was similar to the one he had found, but larger. "This is the most important thing we kept," Tay said. "The humans called it a beacon. Before they left, some of them hid these devices on planets across the galaxy. What does it do? It sends a message into deep space. A signal that says we are here in human language. For over 1,000 years, these beacons have been calling out to the dark." Quan felt his heart racing. Calling to who? To any humans who might still be alive out there. The ones who left, they promised they would not forget the ones who stayed behind. Tay activated the beacon. It began to glow with the same light as the object Quan had found. A soft humming sound filled the room. "Your discovery has awakened something," Tay said. "The beacon you found was sleeping. But when you brought it to the surface, it started working again. Now it is sending a signal stronger than ever before. Should we tell the council? Quan asked. Tay shook his head. The council would destroy it. They are still afraid of humans, even after all these years. They would rather bury the truth than face what they did. Then what do? We wait, Tay said. And we hope that somewhere out in the darkness someone is listening. Far away in the empty space between galaxies, something did hear the signal. Ancient computers woke up after centuries of sleep. Messages began to travel through the void faster than light itself. In a place that no telescope from the galaxy had ever seen, great ships began to move. They had been waiting for this signal for a very long time. The humans were coming home. But Quan and Tai did not know this yet. They only knew that they had found the truth about the past. Soon they would learn that the past was about to become the future. The beacon continued to hum in Tai's secret room. Its signal grew stronger with each passing hour. Somewhere in the darkness, someone was finally answering back. Admiral Hyun stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Return and watched the galaxy grow larger on the main screen. She had dreamed of this moment her entire life. The human fleet was finally coming home. Behind her ship, 1,000 others moved through space like a pack of hunting wolves. These were not the simple vessels that had left the galaxy so long ago. Human technology had grown far beyond anything the current galactic powers could imagine. Admiral, her communications officer reported, we are receiving the beacon signals clearly now. Captain Sol confirms human prisoners on multiple hegemony vessels. How many prisoners total? Hyun asked. At least 3,000 across 50 different ships and stations. Some have been captive for generations. Hyun felt anger burn in her chest. 3,000 of her people had been living as slaves while their captors pretended humans did not exist. That was about to change. Send a message to Dr. Yoon, Hyun ordered. Tell her to prepare for first contact protocols. We will begin with the scientists who found our beacon. On the research station Forgotten Echoes, Quan was working late in his lab when something impossible happened. A woman appeared in the middle of the room. She did not walk in or use a door. She was simply not there one moment and there the next. Quan dropped his tools and stared. The woman looked exactly like the humans from the old pictures. She had pale skin, brown hair, and kind eyes. She wore clothes made of materials Quan had never seen before. Hello, Quan, the woman said in perfect galactic standard language. My name is Dr. Yoon. I believe you found something that belongs to us. Quan's mouth opened, but no words came out. A real human was standing in his lab. The myths were true. Please do not be afraid, Dr. Yoon said. We know what you have discovered. We know what Elder Tay has shown you. We have been watching your galaxy for a very long time. Watching? Quan finally managed to speak. We never really left, Dr. Yoon explained. Some of us went beyond the galactic edge to build new homes. But we always kept ships here, hidden, watching over the ones who could not escape. She gestured to the metal object on Quan's workbench. That beacon has been calling to us for over 1,000 years. When you brought it to the surface, its signal became strong enough to reach our main fleet. Your fleet? Dr. Yoon smiled. Would you like to see? She touched a device on her wrist. Suddenly, the walls of the lab became transparent. Quan could see through them into space. What he saw made his legs weak. Ships filled the sky. Hundreds of them. They were massive, each one larger than the biggest space station in the galaxy. They hung in space like sleeping giants, dark and silent, but somehow alive. How is this possible? Quan whispered. Your people thought they destroyed us, Dr. Yoon said, but they only made us stronger. We went to places they never imagined. We learned from species they never met. We built technology they cannot understand. Nara ran into the lab. She had seen strange readings on her instruments and came to investigate. When she saw Dr. Yoon, she stopped and stared. Another myth come to life, Nara said quietly. We are very real, Dr. Yoon confirmed. And we know what has been hidden from history. The Galactic Council erased our existence, but they could not erase the truth. Dr. Yoon touched her device again. The air above her hand began to glow and images appeared. They showed the events of 1,000 years ago. Humans working peacefully with other species, the growing fear of some alien leaders, secret meetings where they planned humanity's exile. Your people were afraid of us, Dr. Yoon said, not because we were violent, but because we brought change. We showed other species that they did not have to accept the way things were. The images showed the final betrayal. Species that humans trusted turning their weapons against human colonies. The desperate fighting as humans tried to protect their homes. The difficult choice to leave rather than destroy the galaxy in war. We could have fought, Dr. Yoon continued. We had become very powerful. But we valued life more than victory, so we left and we waited. Waited for what? Quan asked. For our people to call us home. In the hegemony ship, Jin felt the walls shake. Emergency alarms were ringing throughout the vessel. He pressed his ear to the door and listened to the guards talking. The entire outer perimeter has gone dark, one guard said. 50 patrol ships just gone. Gone how? Another guard asked. We do not know. They stopped responding all at once. When the relief ships got there, they found empty space. Jin smiled. His people had arrived, but they were not announcing themselves with violence. They were being surgical, careful. They were removing the hegemony's eyes and ears before making their real move. In her cell, Hai felt something change in the ship's vibrations. She had lived here her whole life and knew every sound the vessel made. This was different. The engines were straining as if the ship was trying to run from something. A new guard appeared at her door. But this guard looked wrong somehow. His uniform fit perfectly, but his eyes were different. They were kind eyes, not the cruel eyes of the hegemony soldiers. Hey, the guard said softly. Your father wants to see you. Hay was confused. She had never met her father. The hegemony had told her he was dead. I do not understand, she said. You will, the guard replied. Come with me. The guard led her through corridors she had never seen before. They went down levels she did not know existed. Finally, they stopped at a cell door. Inside, Jin sat on his bed. When he saw Hay, tears filled his eyes. She looked so much like her mother. Hello, daughter, Jin said gently. Hay stared at him. Something inside her recognized him, even though they had never met. You are really my father? Yes, and I have so much to tell you. The guard removed his helmet. Underneath was a human face. Hay gasped when she realized what this meant. My name is Commander Bin, the guard said. I am here to take you both home. Home? He asked. To your real people, Jin explained. The ones who have been looking for us all this time. On the bridge of Vex Prime's ship, chaos had taken control. Reports were coming in from across the hegemony fleet. Ships were losing power. Weapons were shutting down. Communication systems were failing. But the strangest thing was that no one was being hurt. The ships were being disabled, not destroyed. Their crews were alive but helpless. What is happening? Vex Prime demanded. Unknown vessels are appearing throughout our space, his tactical officer reported. They are using technology we cannot counter. Show me, Vex Prime ordered. The main screen lit up with images from across the fleet. Human ships had appeared next to every hegemony vessel. They were dark and sleek like predators from deep space. They moved without making any sound. As Vex Prime watched, beams of light came from the human ships. But these beams did not destroy. Instead, they seemed to reach inside the hegemony vessels and turn off their systems one by one. They are boarding us, someone reported. Human soldiers are appearing inside our ships. Vex Prime realized with growing horror that the humans were not conquering his fleet. They were rescuing their own people, and they were doing it without firing a single weapon. Send a surrender message, he ordered. Sir, you heard me. Tell them we surrender. But when they tried to send the message, they discovered their communication systems had been turned off. The humans did not want to talk. They just wanted their people back. All across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. Human ships appeared wherever their people were being held prisoner. They came silently, disabled their enemies without violence, and took back what belonged to them. The Galactic Council received the first reports and panicked. The myths had become real. Humans existed, and they were more powerful than anyone had imagined. Emergency sessions were called. Leaders from hundreds of species gathered to discuss what to do. But they quickly realized they had no good options. The humans had not attacked any council worlds. They had not hurt any council citizens. They had simply taken back their own people and disabled anyone who tried to stop them. What do they want? The council leaders asked each other. They would find out soon enough. Admiral Hyun was preparing to address the galaxy. But first, she wanted to make sure all of her people were safe. On the research station, Dr. Yoon prepared to leave. She had delivered her message and confirmed that the beacon was working properly. What happens now? Quan asked. Now we return to our ships, Dr. Yoon replied. And we decide what kind of galaxy we want to live in. Will you destroy the council? Dr. Yoon looked sad. We do not want to destroy anyone, but we will not allow our people to be erased from history again. The galaxy needs to learn the truth about what happened, and it needs to change. She began to fade away using the same technology that had brought her to the station. Wait, Quan called. Will we see you again? Dr. Yoon smiled. Very soon. The Admiral wants to speak with your council. I think you should be there to hear what she has to say. Then she was gone, leaving Quan and Nara alone with the knowledge that everything they thought they knew about the galaxy was wrong. In space above them, the human fleet waited. They had come home at last. Now it was time to make sure they would never have to leave again. Captain Sol stood in the rescue center aboard the human medical ship Healing Light. Around him, hundreds of humans were recovering from their years in captivity. Some had been prisoners for decades. Others, like Hay, had been born in alien hands and never known freedom. How many have we recovered? Sol asked his aide. 3,217, came the reply. That matches our intelligence reports. We believe we have found them all. Sol watched as Jin embraced his daughter. They were finally together after 20 years apart. But Sol felt no joy, only anger. These people had suffered while their captors pretended humans did not exist. Hay looked confused and overwhelmed. She had lived her whole life believing she was alone. Now she was surrounded by people who looked like her, spoke in languages she somehow understood, and claimed her as family. It is hard to believe, she said to her father. All this time there were others. Not just others, Jin replied. An entire civilization. Our people built wonders beyond anything in this galaxy. A doctor approached them. Her name was Dr. Kim, and she had been treating the rescued prisoners. We need to document everything, Dr. Kim said gently. Every prison, every experiment, every crime committed against our people. Admiral Hyun wants a complete record. Why? Hay asked. Because the galaxy needs to see the truth, Dr. Kim explained. For too long they have hidden behind lies. That ends now. On the flagship, Admiral Hyun was preparing for the most important broadcast in galactic history. In a few hours, she would address every inhabited world in the galaxy. But first, she needed to show them something that would make her words impossible to ignore. Is the evidence ready? She asked her staff. Yes, Admiral, replied her intelligence officer. We have quantum recordings of every crime. The galaxy will see exactly what was done to our people. Human technology had advanced far beyond what anyone in the galaxy possessed. Their quantum recorders could read the history of any location by analyzing the traces left by past events. Nothing could be hidden from them. The recordings showed the truth about human captivity. Aliens using humans for medical experiments. Humans forced to fight in gladiator arenas for entertainment. Human children taken from their parents and raised as slaves. This will shock them, the intelligence officer warned. Good, Admiral Hyun replied. They should be shocked. They should be ashamed. Across the galaxy, the Galactic Council was meeting an emergency session. The great chamber on Centros Prime was filled with representatives from hundreds of species. They were all afraid. Kai was one of the youngest council members. His species, the Etherians, had always valued truth and justice. When the reports about humans started coming in, Kai felt sick. His people had been part of the conspiracy to hide humanity's existence. We need to prepare for war, declared Council Leader Vorthak. The humans have superior technology. If we do not act first, they will destroy us all. What evidence do you have that they want to destroy us? Kai asked. They have only taken back their own people. They have not attacked any of our worlds. They disabled our entire outer fleet without firing a shot, Vorthak replied. That is a threat. Elder May raised her hand for attention. She was one of the oldest beings in the galaxy, old enough to remember when humans were first exiled. I have something to say, May announced. Something I should have said 1,000 years ago. The chamber became quiet. May's species lived for thousands of years, and her word carried great weight. The humans were not exiled because they were dangerous, May began. They were exiled because they were too good. Murmurs of confusion rippled through the chamber. Explain, Vorthak demanded. May stood slowly. Her ancient body was frail, but her voice was strong. Humans had a gift that terrified us. They could unite any species, bridge any difference, solve any conflict. Wherever they went, peace followed. Wars ended. Slavery was abolished. Trade became fair. The chamber was completely silent now. But some of us built our power on war, slavery, and unfair trade. May continued. The humans threatened everything we had built. So we conspired against them. We used their trust against them. We called them dangerous when really we were the dangerous ones. Kai felt his heart sink. His people had been part of this ancient crime. We told ourselves we were protecting the galaxy, May said, but we were only protecting our own power. And now they have returned stronger than ever. We should be grateful they are showing mercy. Before anyone could respond, every screen in the chamber activated. Admiral Hyun's face appeared, looking directly at them. Leaders of the Galactic Council, she began. I am Admiral Hyun of the Human Expeditionary Fleet. We have returned to reclaim our rightful place in this galaxy. The Admiral's voice was calm, but carried the weight of authority. For 1,000 years, you have told your people that humans were myths. You have hidden the truth about our exile. You have kept our people as prisoners and slaves. The screen split to show the quantum recordings. Council members gasped as they saw the evidence of human suffering. The images were clear and undeniable. We could have returned in anger, Admiral Hyun continued. We could have taken revenge for what was done to us. But that is not who we are. The recording showed human rescue teams carefully removing prisoners from alien ships. Not one captor had been killed, even though they would have deserved it. We offer you a choice, the Admiral said. You can continue to live in the lies of the past, or you can help us build a better future. The screen showed images of human ships and technology. Vessels that could travel between galaxies. Devices that could heal any injury. Computers that could solve problems in seconds. We have learned much in our exile, Admiral Hyun explained. We have found new friends among the stars. We have technologies that could benefit every species in this galaxy. But first there must be justice, she continued. The crimes against our people cannot be ignored. Those responsible must answer for what they have done. The screen changed to show a list of names and species. These were the beings who had ordered human captivity, authorized experiments, and profited from human slavery. You have 7 standard days to dissolve your current government and establish a new one based on justice and equality, Admiral Hyun announced. If you refuse, we will take the actions necessary to protect all sentient beings in this galaxy. Kai looked around the chamber. Many council members were pale with fear. Others were angry. A few, like Elder May, looked relieved. This is our chance to fix an ancient wrong, Kai said to those near him. We should take it. But Vorthak was not interested in justice. This is an invasion, he declared. We will not surrender to threats. Elder May shook her head sadly. You still do not understand. This is not a threat. It is a promise. The humans always keep their promises. On the human medical ship, Jin was helping other rescued prisoners adapt to their new reality. Many of them had been captive so long they had forgotten what freedom felt like. What will happen to us now? Asked an elderly human woman. She had been a slave for 50 years. Now we go home, Jin replied. To the worlds our people have built beyond the galaxy's edge. Places where no one will ever hurt us again. And what about them? The woman gestured toward the view screen which showed alien ships in the distance. What about the ones who kept us prisoner? Jin looked thoughtful. That will be decided by people much wiser than me. But I know my people. They will choose justice over revenge. They always have. Hay approached her father. She had been talking with other humans her age, learning about the culture she had never known. Father, she said, Dr. Kim says I can choose. I can go with you to the human worlds, or I can stay here and help build the new galaxy. What do you want to do? Jin asked. He looked around at the rescued humans. Many of them were like her, caught between 2 worlds. They had alien knowledge but human hearts. I want to stay, she said. Someone needs to help the aliens understand us. Someone needs to make sure this never happens again. Jin smiled proudly. That sounds like something a human would choose to do. Captain Saul received a message from Admiral Hyun. The council had been given their ultimatum. Now came the waiting. Do you think they will surrender? Saul asked his brother Jin when they met in the ship's common area. Some will, Jin replied. The wise ones, like Elder May. But others will choose pride over wisdom. Then we will have to remove them. Yes, but carefully. We are not conquerors, Sol. We are liberators, Sol nodded. He understood the difference. Conquerors took by force. Liberators gave people the chance to choose freedom. The 7 days would pass quickly. Then the galaxy would learn what choice the council had made. But regardless of their decision, one thing was certain. The age of lies was ending. The age of truth had begun. In her quarters, Admiral Hyun reviewed the reports from across the galaxy. Some species were already preparing to abandon the Council and form new governments. Others were mobilizing their fleets for war. She was not surprised. Change was always hard, especially for those who benefited from the old ways. But the humans had learned patience during their exile. They had learned to think in centuries, not years. They would build the galaxy they wanted, one choice at a time. The 7-day countdown had begun. The 7 days passed like a storm. Across the galaxy, species made their choices. Some, like the Etherians and the Vorthans, immediately dissolved their old governments and began forming new ones based on justice and equality. Others, led by the stubborn council leader Vorthak, chose to fight. Admiral Hyun stood on her bridge and watched the hegemony fleet approach. 200 warships, all armed with the most powerful weapons the galaxy had ever seen. They were coming to destroy the human fleet and prove that the old ways would not die. "Admiral," her tactical officer reported, "enemy fleet will be in weapons range in 10 minutes. "Very well," Hyun replied calmly. "Begin the demonstration." What happened next would be remembered for 1,000 years. The human ships did not fire their weapons. Instead, they simply turned off the enemies. Every gun on every hegemony ship stopped working at the same moment. Their engines died. Their shields collapsed. Their life support systems flickered but stayed on. The humans were not murderers. How long did that take? Admiral Hyun asked. 17 minutes, Admiral. That includes travel time to reach all the ships. The battle that was supposed to decide the galaxy's future had lasted 17 minutes. Not a single shot had been fired. Not a single life had been lost. Vorthak's voice came over the communication system. "This is impossible. Our weapons are designed to resist any interference." "Your weapons were designed by species that think in simple terms," Admiral Hyun replied. "We learned from teachers you cannot imagine. Surrender now, and your crews will be treated with mercy." One by one, the hegemony ships powered down. Their crews had no choice. They were helpless. The demonstration sent a message across the galaxy. The humans were not just technologically superior. They were so far ahead that resistance was pointless. Within hours, the remaining Council loyalists began to surrender. They realized that fighting the humans was like fighting the forces of nature itself. 3 months later, representatives from every species in the galaxy gathered on Centros Prime for the Constitutional Convention. This time, humans sat among them as equals. President Lim had been elected to lead the new Galactic Federation. She was a diplomat who had spent years learning about alien cultures. Her first act was to establish the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. "We are not here for revenge," President Lim announced to the gathered delegates. "We are here to build something better." Justice Rowe, the chief administrator of the war crimes tribunals, had been working for months to prepare fair trials for those who had committed crimes against humans. But the trials would be different from what anyone expected. "Every person accused of crimes will receive a fair trial," Justice Rowe explained. "They will have lawyers. They will be allowed to present evidence. If they are found guilty, their punishment will fit their crimes." "But what about forgiveness?" asked Kai, who had become one of the new Federation's strongest supporters. "Is there no room for those who admit their mistakes?" Justice Rowe smiled. "Humans believe in second chances. Those who confess their crimes, make amends, and work to repair the damage they caused will find mercy." Many aliens were surprised by human justice. They expected execution or slavery. Instead, they found rehabilitation and education. Former slave masters were sent to work in human hospitals, learning to heal instead of hurt. Former war criminals became teachers, helping to educate new generations about the dangers of hatred. Vorthak himself was one of the first to face trial. But when he saw the evidence of human suffering, something inside him broke. "I was wrong," he said to the court. "I was so afraid of losing power that I forgot what power was for. I want to spend the rest of my life making up for what I did." He was sentenced to serve in the new alien-human cooperation centers, helping former enemies learn to work together. Ambassador Wan had perhaps the hardest job in the new galaxy. She was responsible for healing the wounds between species that had been enemies for generations. "Trust takes time to build," she explained to a gathering of young beings from different worlds. "But it starts with small steps, working together on simple projects. learning each other's languages, sharing food and stories. One of her most successful programs paired human families with alien families. Children who grew up together rarely learned to hate each other. Hay had chosen to work with Ambassador Juan. Her unique background, raised by aliens but genetically human, made her perfect for bridging the gap between worlds. I remember what it felt like to be alone. Hay told a group of young aliens who were afraid of humans. I thought I was the only one like me in the universe. But then I learned that being different does not mean being alone. There is always someone who understands. Jin had finally seen his grandson, Hai's son, who had been born just after the liberation. The little boy had his grandfather's eyes and his mother's curiosity. "What will you tell him about the old days?" Captain Saul asked his brother as they watched the child play with human and alien children together. "I will tell him the truth," Jin replied. "But I will also tell him that the old days are over. He will grow up in a galaxy where no one has to hide what they are." The construction of New Terra had begun in the outer system of Centros Prime. It would be humanity's first permanent settlement in their ancestral galaxy in over 1,000 years, but New Terra was designed to be different from the old human worlds. It would be a mixed city, where humans and aliens lived side by side. The architecture blended styles from dozens of different cultures. The schools taught the histories of all species, not just human history. "This is what we dreamed of," Admiral Hyun said as she watched the construction through her view screen. Not human dominance, but human cooperation. Dr. Yoon had been appointed as the new galaxy's chief science officer. Her job was to share human technology with other species, but carefully. "Some technologies are dangerous in the wrong hands," she explained to the Federation Council. "We will share our medical advances, our farming techniques, our clean energy systems. But weapons technology must be controlled." The new Federation had strict rules about warfare. Conflicts between species would be resolved through arbitration, not battle. The human fleet would serve as peacekeepers, preventing wars before they could start. But the most important change was in how the galaxy thought about difference. The old council had ruled through fear and division. The new Federation celebrated diversity. Quan had been appointed as the first director of the Interspecies Historical Commission. His job was to make sure the truth about the past was never hidden again. "Every species has made mistakes," he said at the Commission's first meeting, humans included. "The goal is not to assign blame forever, but to learn from those mistakes." The Commission's archives were open to everyone. Any being could research the true history of their species and others. The days of hidden secrets were over. Elder May had lived to see the new galaxy take shape. At over 4,000 years old, she was one of the oldest beings alive. On her deathbed, she called for President Lim. "I want to apologize," May whispered, "for my people's part in the exile, for the years of lies." President Lim held the ancient being's hand. "Your apology is accepted. But more importantly, you lived to see the mistake corrected. You helped build something better." May smiled. The humans were right to show mercy. A galaxy built on revenge would not have lasted. 5 years after the return, the galaxy was transformed. Trade flowed freely between worlds. Scientific research was shared openly. Art and culture blended in beautiful new ways. There were still problems. Some species struggled to adapt to equality. A few extremist groups tried to restore the old ways. But the Federation dealt with these challenges peacefully and justly. The human fleet had grown, but not through conquest. Other species had asked to join, contributing their own ships and crews to the cause of galactic peace. Captain Saul, now an admiral himself, commanded a mixed crew of humans and aliens. They had become a family, united by their commitment to protecting the innocent. "Do you ever regret coming back?" Saul asked Admiral Hyun during one of their regular meetings. "Never," she replied without hesitation. "This galaxy is our home. We belong here together with everyone else." Jin spent his final years writing his memoirs. He wanted future generations to understand what life had been like during the dark times. "The worst part was not the captivity," he wrote. "It was the loneliness, the feeling that we had been forgotten. But humans never forget. Sometimes it takes a long time, but we always come home." When Jin died peacefully at the age of 98, representatives from every species in the galaxy attended his funeral. He had become a symbol of endurance and hope. Hay, now a senior ambassador, spoke at his service. "My father taught me that home is not a place. It is the people who love you, the values you share, and the future you build together." The new galaxy was not perfect. It probably never would be. Different species still disagreed about many things, but they had learned to disagree peacefully, to solve problems through cooperation instead of conflict. And in the deep archives of New Terra, the old beacon still hummed quietly. It no longer called into the void searching for help. Instead, it sang a different song, a song of return, of reunion, and of hope fulfilled. The myths had become reality. The galaxy had found its soul,